I listen to anything with 432 frequency.
But it's possible that for
but that's me. Anybody else can be different, you know. I don't know that.
Sure, that's what I wanted to point out. For anybody else, it could be slightly a higher or lower frequency. Because what I hear when I interact with people, I often hear frequencies of the people and of the plants and everything around me. So I also hear the frequency. Basically, your force is already giving your frequency away in some sort.
Yeah, I've always heard of buzzing, dude. It's driven me nuts. I never knew what it was. Now I know what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You hear the frequency, and if you actually...
Oh, Ty, you and I need to talk.
Could I engage Bro Sanchez for a second?
Yeah, for sure, dude.
I'm just wondering if I could. Bro, I want to tell you, man. I think you are filled with wisdom, and you speak. When you start speaking from the heart, and you give your knowledge. Sometimes it's the most mind-blowing stuff I've ever heard. Someone who I've tried to engage your channel and listen to some of your live streams and stuff. It's like a lot of times it gets so convoluted with chaos and people diverting the conversation and drama and whatever. I just want to implore you, like, insert yourself more into your channel. Take control of that. Take control of that. I mean, I think you have so much to offer. I think you have an incredible wisdom. And I love what you have to say. Every time I hear you speak, it moves me, man. I'm just telling you honestly.
Me too. I'm with you, Ty.
That's what makes a quality, excellent show. Now, on the other hand, if she wanted to create another channel called, just say, Flat Earth Royal Rumble, anything goes. Any and everybody come up here, and you come up here and put your gloves on, let's go, to filter out, you know what I mean? Because the average globe head is a beer drinking, ready to argue, think he know everything, you know, and I want to build a platform for those people. I want to deal with those dickheads. I love them. I like when they come up there.
Yeah, but you do. And can I say something quick? Because I'm on your panel quite a bit. And I like that. I like that he challenges people constantly and teaches them at the same time. You know?
All right. Hey, Santos.
Santos here.
Yeah, Santos.
Hey,
Santos.
Hi, Santos.
Hello, Santos.
Hey, Santos. What's good, man? What's good, my brother?
Yeah. Hey, how are you, Bro Sanchez? I'm glad I'm glad you're hanging out with this group, and I've had a few good hangouts here, so it's a great spot to meet, man.
Yeah. Yes, it is, man. And I finally met up with you on here, so that proves that you're telling the truth. Hey, I'm just glad that you're here, man. I know everybody on the panel got questions for you, so I'm going to hold mine. And I just want to say thanks, Santos, for coming up here, man, because I've been dying to speak with you. I love your work. And I just been wanting to question you on a couple of things.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. Yep.
Can I just say who's on the hangout with you, Santos? And then you can go back to Bro Sanchez. You know artists. There's obviously Bro Sanchez, Black Trotters, FPV, Karen B, Marlena's waving, and we've got Ty from Flat Revival magazine, and Josh, me.
I have to say hello, Santos, because you and I talk on Facebook all the time. I never got to talk to you this way. So I'm so glad you came. I can't wait to listen to what you and Brother Sanchez have to talk about together.
Oh,
I'm really excited. Karen, this is so wonderful.
We had such a disaster.
I know.
This is great. Bro Sanchez was going to make it. We've had Big Dread on. It's just been like, the panel's just been buzzing.
Nice.
Anyway.
It's probably a great day to be on this hangout.
It is.
Okay, Bro Sanchez. Ask Santos then.
Oh, well, I was just had a little quick, simple question. I was going to ask you, what do you think about, because in a lot of your videos, I hear you talk about the elites. And we know we both deal with etymology. We know that the elites is dealing with El, which is the Saturn god El. And we know that they are hiding a lot of knowledge and secrecy. But what is this whole Saturnian concept in your understanding? Is it necessarily something evil, or is it something that we all need to be tapping into that they're just hiding?
It's a necessary evil, brother. The L branch of theology is one half. The other is the geoistic, Jupiterian. L is Saturnian, and the geoistic branch is Jupiterian. So Saturn becomes Paul, Apollo, and Jupiter becomes Jehovah. So you've got your Eloistics and your Geoistics, okay? Saturn and Jupiter. It's always been that way. It always will. So you've got Paul and Peter. Jupiter is Jupiter. So you rob from Peter to give to Paul, okay? So in astrology, Saturn's the greater malefic. In astrology, Jupiter is the greater benefic. Saturn represents time. Jupiter represents space. Can't be space without Jupiter, can't be time without Kronos. One castrates the other. So Saturn's time component is a necessary evil. In time, all things corrode, oxidize, die, perish, destroy, corrupt. And Jupiter expands, is the other half, time, space, and abundance, and expansion, and magnanimity, and goodness, God. That's why Jupiter is God. Now, there's a constellation in Aries called Triangulum. And, well, it's a triangle. Triangulum means triangle. And the top star of that triangle, it's a isosceles triangle. So it's not a, like a equilateral or anything like that. So the top part is very distinguished from the other two. And that star is called the Most High. Anu, A-N-U. That's the Most High God in Aries, of course. It corresponds to the pineal gland, the triangulum. And next door in Taurus, you have the Pleiades, who correspond to the pituitary body. As you look up in the skies, every constellation is your body. Man is the measure of the universe. So the other two stars are Enlil, L. Enlil becomes L. And the other star is Ea, which becomes Jehovah, Jah. And that is the twins. They are the twins, the demiurge, Saturn and Jupiter. One's a Titan, the other one is an Olympian. Jupiter is the Olympian who defeats the Titan, his father, and castrates him. So this twin energy, is essentially the death energy and the life energy. The Saturnian work that the Satanists do, these elites, they do the other half. They do the bad half. They're taking care of all of that, and thank goodness that they are, because otherwise it might be you. So you accept what's going on. All things are as they should be. Not all things are perfect, but they are as they should be. And the evil ones are doing their deeds so that they will merit their recompense. At the end, the goats and the good ones, the sheep, are doing their deeds, and they will merit their recompense.
Now, that's very interesting when you bring up Saturn and Jupiter as Peter and Paul, and as yin and yang. That's astrologically coming from a more Greek perspective. Now, I deal with astrology from a more it's not a Greek perspective. I was just purely ancient. Now, when I look up and I look at yin and yang, I think sun and moon. Let me ask you another question, Santos. Where would darkness come into spectrum? Because one thing that I teach is that darkness is a centering agent, and it's related to this, like you said, the satanic people wear black or darkness. Well, I associate it with the womb and creativity. Like you say that the Most High God is Anu, and I associate that deity with a time, annual time, where like a harvest time. While we say words like annual or annual, when I say anu or annual times, associating with the times where we go back and forth in between the darkness, like you said, life and death, to renew ourselves. So, in other words, reincarnation. But I like the perspective you give with Saturn and Jupiter. But one thing I wanted to ask you about Saturn itself is not necessarily as a planet or a wandering star, but the symbol itself dealing with balance. What you think about that, like the circle with the line in it and the whole concept of Saturn?
Yeah, well, Saturn. Both a question real quick.
Okay, the question is, what do you think about the whole concept of Saturn, meaning that the symbol of it is a circle with a line through it, like the yin yang? Everything we talk about Saturn is just what Santos said, life and death, which is sandwiched in between darkness, and also the fact that they got it dealing with Satanism and all of the spooky stuff. Should we try to see what they trying to make us scared of and scare us away from, basically?
Well, they've unbalanced us. We should embrace Saturn, which is black light, dielectricity, resting light. And we should embrace white light, magnetism, Jupiterian light, the beautiful blue hues of Jupiter, the healing rays of Jupiter. So Jupiter is Jupiter Zeus, Jesus, and Saturn is Satan. It's Jesus and Satan, Peter and Paul, Adam and Eve, Esau and Enoch, Cain and Abel. It's the forever twins. Anu, the Most High, is Uranus, the heavens. And it is true that it is annual, yes, because it is transcendental time. So the annual time that we experience is mundane time, okay? It has 3 tenses. But time is also spiritual, okay? Time is transcendental. It is born of no time, which is time.
So can I...
Forever, the forever now. And hold the question, because I just want to point out that Greek astrology is no different to any other ancient astrology. I just did a hangout in Spanish, and one of the questions was about astrology and its, its fidelity and whether there should be 13 signs, etc. The way I present astrology is the only way to present astrology, with the natural system, the ecliptic, etc. Yeah, most of the listeners know what I'm talking about. So this is the only way to do it. So there are 12 signs, and there are many astrologers even who will tell you things like, oh, the Greeks came along and introduced Libra. Libra didn't exist before the Greeks. Okay.
No, I wouldn't tell you that.
Well, no, I know, you wouldn't, but some do. Now, you go to the Dendera stone in Egypt and you will see not only 12 constellations just as we know them, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, etc. Mm-hmm. No difference. And not only will you see that, but you'll see that the 36 deacons that we still have, which we call the Ptolemaic deacons. So, ancient astrology is exactly what I'm teaching. Ancient, Egyptian, Grecian, Roman, Arabian, Persian, and even Sidereal.
I'm not. That wasn't my point. Was I know the astrology is the same, just like pretty much everything is the same on a globe model, except for the theories and crap. For example, they give you the names of the planets. They give you the signs. They give you. I'm saying that the deities, the way we interpret the deities. For example, the Egyptians spoke about Saturn just like the Greeks when we deal with astrology, but they interpreted these deities different. The Egyptians didn't have necessarily Jesus or Jupiter. So like one of their deities for Saturn was Set. Set is the root word of Saturn or Sat. So, and you will see that he's dark. He's a dark creature, but it's a lot of creatures that they had dealing with Saturn.
True.
And you see what I'm saying? So it's just the deity. So that's why I kind of, when you say about like I don't have a concept of time. When I think there is no time. I think it's perceived. I think we all on our own clock. But for example,
can I ask? Is there relevance? I mean, my understanding is that our calendar has been completely messed with, and so like the idea of the new year should be April, right? Instead of January.
Or was it March? I thought it was March.
What is the relevance?
March for us.
What is the relevance, would you say, from changing the new year from April to January?
Oh, that's quite simple. The January beginning, January 1st, was pinned there by the Julio-Gregorians, whereas the April 1st beginning date, which is pinned to the 21st of March, the equinox,
which is relevant in terms of an actual pattern.
Yes, but so is the Capricorn. The Aries one is relevant to astrology because everything begins at the top of the head, which is where Aries begins, in the cerebrum, and finishes at the feet, where Pisces is. Therefore, that's the true astrological beginning, the equinox, March the 21st. Hence, you count 10 days after that, which gives you April 1st. Hence, the Romans and the Jesuits set about ridiculing the English and the Russians and the Germans, who kept the beginning of the year pinned to April 1st, the natural calendar, the spiritual calendar, and not the Capricorn secular Roman calendar, which is also a good calendar, but it's secular. And so they called those ones April Fools.
Yeah.
Right? To stop people.
Ridicule.
To stop people. Yes. And so these are techniques.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought y'all was finished. Go ahead.
I'm finished. Yeah, go.
So when you say Saturn is polo, and polo is dealing with polar, or like the pole energy, or the spinal cord, the balancing, our spinal cord splits our body right in the middle, just like Saturn is split. It's a ball that's split right in the middle. I'm trying to see is there any connection with this stuff, because Saturn also means 7. Saturn is 7 or Sabbath, and Septos dealing with September. I was trying to see, could that have anything to do with the New Year of the Witch, which is Septos? And this September we had that alignment as well.
Yep. September is Libra, ruled by Venus, but exalted by Saturn. Of course, Saturn exalts in Libra because that's where set is the sunset on the daily ecliptic of the sun. So always, everywhere, when you see the sun setting, so-called, and it disappears, that's where Libra begins every day. Where you see Horus on the horizon rising, that is Aries. At the moment you see the sun pop its head above that Horus rising sign point. And this is the symbolic signs daily, every day. So you've got Horus, the sun, which exalts in Aries. And you've got his opposer, Saturn, Set, who is exalting, where the deacon of Libra is Lupus, the wolf of darkness. So every day by the wolf. If you look at all the deacons, you can tell all the stories of all gospels, of everything that ever existed. Nursery rhymes, fairy tales, everything. Hollywood scripts, president speeches, every thought you ever made.
Hey,
See?
And
hey,
you know
Santos,
something?
would you be
Yep.
would you be interested in contributing to Flat Revival magazine?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
I would if you're I would love to hear. I would love to have you contribute to the magazine. Hit me up at flatrevival@gmail.com.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, now,
Another point there. Yeah.
Can I build on something you said real quick? Now, you said that Saturn has a lot to do with. But let me.
We got a big feedback here. Somebody has to turn.
Some kind of echo is going on.
Aaron B and Ty, just mute for a minute. Just mute, because that was just incredible. Sorry, I had to say something.
Me too.
So,
that's why I said it. Too much of an ego. It's almost unhearable.
Yeah.
Sorry, who was talking? One by one. One by one.
Yeah, I wanted to try to tie in some of my see what Santos think about some of the research I was stumbling on in my research time. Dealing with Saturn.
Bro Sanchez. Before you go, by the way, I'm glad you cleared that up about what you meant about the ancient Egyptian meanings, because they are the true meanings, okay? The meanings that the astrologers, the Copernican revolution type are teaching today, they are all wrong, okay? Because they do not include, they're not syncretists. They do not include theology in astrology. I don't do a reading unless God and all his archetypes, her archetypes, are expressed through the reading. These are the gods. Yeah, when you're looking at where's your Jupiter in the chart and where's your sun in the chart, you're looking at archangelic beings. Our archons, our leaders back to cause, our brothers, our helpers, the potters of Memphis, the ones that are making this show go on. Okay, these are not just these Copernican astrologers. They'll tell you that the moon's a rock, and the astronauts that went up there to play golf, well, they also brought some of that moon rock down here. It's a solid rock. It looks like it, doesn't it? You know, that's the type of astrologers that are kicking around today, and I'm kicking their butts by exposing them because they're upside down spinners, Copernicans, and most of them, they're all flesh eaters, dead corpse eaters. Never was there a time when the real astrologers would ingest the dead carcasses of our brothers. You can't have carcass breath and be upside down Copernican and call yourself an astrologer. So correct, brother. Yes, the Egyptian interpretations, learn those.
You say you can't have carcass breath. That's damn right.
Yeah. That's not an astrologer. That's a carcass cruncher.
Yeah, you're right. That's a sick-minded fella. And you know, and they doing stuff. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. They totally something different than we are.
Someone's talking. I think we're gonna have to.
Yep. Yes, it's me. Done.
Sorry.
Got it.
You just, I think to stop that, Santos, you just cut off the YouTube video since you're on a panel. You may be still watching it on YouTube while you're on a panel. You can shut the YouTube off and that'll.
No, I'm not. But I've got it. I'll mute. I know that. Yep. Done.
Okay. Well, look, let me pick your mind some more about Saturn if y'all don't mind, because I've been waiting to because some of the most popular videos on YouTube, and what got me caught up into a lot of conspiracy and spookism was the whole Saturn tricks and the Saturn moon matrices and all of this. And so I started researching about Saturn, because remember, I had that dream when I was little. So when I was hearing about the Saturn moon matrix, it was mostly from a guy named Quasiluminous. I ain't gonna lie. He had me scared than a motherfucker with the whole Pac-Man eating you and recycling out the death. So I went to researching this stuff, and I found out that the moon eating you and the recycling, you getting 8 just mean the number 8, which is infinity or the hourglass. It's not time, it's infinity. And it's coming in and out of existence through the womb, and you getting 8 by the darkness. That's why it's the number 8. And it ain't necessarily that the moon eating you, it's that the moon is kind of like a representation of this whole balance that the darkness create. So one thing I found out when I dealt with Saturn was that Saturn is Satan, and Satan has a trident that deals with balance. And Satan also is a form of the ancient mother goddess that they hid, which was ancient womb worship. So when you talk about Jesus and the devil, it really is supposed to be Jesus and his woman, man and woman. So it can be masculine, feminine. But the patriarchs also had a thing against the woman. So they turned it to be Jesus and another guy, when really it's really the balance is man and woman, and there's really no evil and good. It's really just, you know, energy. And we can make a hell or heaven based on what we do with it. So I think that's the whole concept of free will. But when you talk about the renewing energy and things becoming new and anew, you think about a neutron, just like a new moon, the centering agent, and a neutron would be at the center of the cell. So I think the ancestors was on to some with the Saturn, the balance, you know, being the ball lance or the lance ball. And I think Saturn is different than what they trying to tell us with the spooky stuff. I think it's something we need to probably look more into. But I'm gonna leave y'all with that, because one thing Santos brought up was how Saturn is linked to, how the alignment of Libra is linked to the sunsets, and that the sunsets is the word set is dealing with Satan or Satan. But the moon phases is dealing with that. And one more thing I'm gonna point out, and I'm gonna turn it back over to you, Santos, is when you talk about the connection between Saturn and Libra is liberty or balance, freedom, heaven, evenness. And its connection with Saturn is that they say, let freedom ring. And ring is what Saturn has. So, you know, when you think of Baal or Baal is all dealing with this, Saturn is like, Saturn, Venus, and Libra is like a trinity of the same, the goddess porter that they call it, or the Celtic knot or some of that nature. But I would like to hear what Santos think about that.
Okay, man, I've got a lot of thoughts for you because you've mentioned some beautiful points. Okay, so Saturn we know is Libra, September, and so that's where the sun sets. And Sept is 7, Saturn is also Shiva, Shabbat, Sabbath, the Sabbath day, Saturn day. So we have this sevenness about Saturn, the Libra sign where he exalts, and Libra means to liberate, and from the rings of Saturn we are liberated. That's what Libra is. That's why it's there, because it liberates the sun into the night, and Saturn then extends his hospitality to the bottom part of the ecliptic. He's the ruler of coldness and darkness, and he rules in Capricorn and Aquarius, which are all down there in the winter, and there's Libra in autumn, where Saturn begins, you see. So what we have is Saturn. Take away SA and you're left with turn, because El means Elohim, means turners, twisters. So Saturn has a son called Jupiter, the Taurus field. He's the bull. That's Baal. Okay? Then their daddy, Anu, Uranus, the heavens. That's the trilogy. That's the Trinity. The heavens, Uranus, castrated by his son, time, Kronos. Castrated by his son, space, Jupiter, expansion. Jesus, the savior. So in order to get back to the heavens, you see, we go back to the tree of life, which is the constellation that is in Triangulum, which consists of 29 stars, and that's where creation begins, in the pineal gland, 29 being the number of all the letters of the alphabet. And according to the Box Saga, the original language had 29 letters. So in English, we dropped 3 of those and are using a 26 system, which is the Elohim system. Elohim comes to 52 in Gematria. El comes to 13, which is half of 26, which is half of 52. 26 is the number of God in Gematria. Jehovah, Yod He Vah He, comes to 26. Aleph comes to 26. So what we have here in the Tree of Life is the original Hebrew letters. They have a 22 system and they have a 29 system. And these are the words, the verbs of creation from the Tree of Life. And so Anu has his two sons, the two energies which you're talking about. One is expansive, one is constrictive. And this is the forever energy system of the universe. Adam, the pulse, and Eve, the wave.
Can I ask you something? When you say Anu has two sons, we're getting the echo again, Santos.
I got it.
Thank you. When you say Anu has two sons, I was researching about this, and I was realizing that Anu is a patriarchal form of the goddess Nut. And you said that Egyptians had the correct deities. So that's why I go before Anu and I go to Nut, because Nut has a womb. She was able to give birth. But when the patriarchal gods like Anu came along, when you start reading how they gave birth to life, it was in sick ways when men don't have wombs. So in a lot of these sick stories, some of these deities was impregnating themselves. But in the earliest ancient conceptions, there was simply a divine womb which come from all things, which was just simply darkness, which is the canvas of life, represented by Saturn or Satan. When you said turn, that's the energy that's turning the heavens at the center of the pole. When you say, where is heaven? I think is at the center of the earth, which is at the center of the human, which is the heart chakra. But interesting concepts here, because it's deep stuff. We know that this is associated with the equinox, and that equi mean equality or balance. Another form of equality would be the equal sign, and that would be the number 11. And El is that god again that's dealing with Saturn. When you say 11, you're saying a railroad track. That's something that's parallel, and El is at the end of parallel. So this is a balancing deity we talking about. When you speak to somebody, you say hello, L-O, and the H is silent, so it's really L-O or hello, which is really halo, or the planet Saturn, which is a halo or ball length balance. And if you think about the Antarctic ice ring, you think about the goddess Nut, she would be that outer halo, or that ring barrier representing this darkness with the night sky or Nut sky, or the things where all things renew itself through this balance. When we say new, that's Nut or Newt. And that's what I was saying, because, you know, it's interesting stuff when you go to Egypt and think about Nut.
Yeah, well, you are 100% correct. Nut is Anu. Anu is Anna. Anna is the root word for lamb or ewe. See, you have Eve is, if you put two V's in there, you get a double V, which we call a double U. And hence Eve is the ewe, because Adam is the lamb, the lamp of the universe. So Anu is Nut. Yes, the heavens, the sky, the heavens. And so it's the womb from the black light, which is Saturnian. The reason why we see Saturn's rings, because all planets have rings, but you can't see them. Why? Well, because Saturn is the only planet that is perfectly aligned, perpendicular, 90 degrees from its axis to its spin axis. And that's why the inertial plane, which is what those rings are, is manifesting in our eyes, to our eyes. Whereas Jupiter's rings are much more massive than Saturn. This is a fact, but you can't see them because they're all torus fields. Saturn is turning the Elohim twister. That's it, twister. Elohim means twister. Yeah, and his son Thor, the Taurus field, is the magnetic light, which is doing the opposite of what Saturn is doing, which is the Taurus rotating field. Okay, Tor backwards is rotating. So it's all turning and rotating energy, and they're turning against each other, and they have to. Satan must be there. If Satan is not there destroying Shiva, is not destroying the work of, of Vishnu, let's say, or Brahma, the creator, which would correspond to Jupiter, then no work would be done in the universe. So Nut is Anu, is Uranus, is all the other archetypes. Car is, a car in English is Macchina in Italian, is Voiture in French, is Coche in Spanish, is Carro in Portuguese. But it's still the same thing that we are referring to.
Mm-hmm.
Let us not be deceived, brothers. Let us not be deceived. There's only one theological system in the universe. One.
That's
There's
true.
only one system.
And you know
There's
what?
not two.
The more I talk to you, the more I see that this syncretism is very deep in that we're on the same page, because earlier you mentioned that 26 was the number of God. It goes back to, well, I would say it's the number of the goddess, but like we said, we ain't gonna get caught up in semantics. 26 equal out to 8. And again, 8 is the hourglass. 8 is the goddess Ishtar. If you pull up the mother goddess Ishtar, she's shaped like the 8, not because the ancestors was making fun of her. They making her shape that funny way to symbolize an hourglass. Like you said, 2 V's is a W, but it's also a X. When you take those 2 V's and stack them, you get the X, which is the X chromosome, the hourglass, or the number 8. It's the bow tie that the Masons wear. And the bow tie is really the bow tie. The B and the V are the same. So the B can be replaced with the V. So when we say the bowls of the earth, we can say the vowels, or the vowels is the bowels, the bends. And I'm saying this for the people because when we talk about Nut being Saturn, think about it. We have to bend down and take a knee to make a vow. And that bending is what Nut is doing with her back. The bending is what the football players doing. This is symbology that they doing in the NFL. And you bending the knee. I'm sorry about that, guys. Hold on a minute.
With the bowing down, same with when we do have our teepees here in our powwow time. We have. Sorry.
Yeah. So I was saying that the whole bending and the outer barrier of the ice ring, dealing with the covering of Nut, which is the covenant. And when we make our covenants with our woman, we have a wedding and we give them a ring like Saturn, and we band like Nut for to make the bow or the vow. So I think this is gonna be a dope one. I'm gonna actually take this and re-upload it because Santos being here helped me tie into some more stuff, because I just thought about it. If you think about the 7 wandering stars, Saturn is the 7th one, and 7 means Saturn. 7 is Saturn. So like the 7th chakra is the crown chakra, and crown is Chronos. But time is an illusion because that hourglass is really infinity. So instead of us saying construction and deconstruction, that's getting caught up in the polarity instead of the pole. That's like if I take you to a forest and you say you see a bunch of trees instead of one forest. So instead of us saying construction and deconstruction, there is no 2 things. There's only one thing: recreation. And that's what the recycle symbol is all about. Recycling is Saturn, the number 8. But what I was saying, what I wanted to point out also was, that's the covenant, that we are immortal. And like we always say, energy can't cease to exist. That's a covenant represented by a covering too, being Nut. But one thing I'm gonna say also is Jehovah. The last word is ova, OVA, dealing with the ovaries of the woman. Jesus on the cross is actually the uterus of the woman. And they hid the worship of the womb behind all of these patriarchal deities. But man and woman both come from the womb, which is the centering agent, the darkness, the one in the center, that vortex, So I think that one of the big deceptions, along with the global deception, was removing the womb from the center of the ancient cosmos, because the mother goddess was replaced with Santa Claus and a bunch of more patriarchal deities that's hiding the stuff that I'm saying now behind a bunch of devil talk and, boogeyman stuff. But, what y'all think about that?
I agree.
Well,
I agree.
Yep, spot on, brother. Spot on. So many beautiful thoughts. When you mentioned the ovaries, you see, that's what Anu means. It means ovaries, okay? Ovus is Anu, the lamb. Ovus, the ovine is the lamb, okay? Look at the ovaries of a woman. They look like a lamb, a ram. You look at the cerebrum in your brain and the fornix and the lateral pillars of the fornix and the third ventricle. It's the ram. It's the ovaries. It's the ovus. It's in you because those archetypal energies are in the arc of the ecliptic. So in the arc of Aries for 30 degrees, it will produce Arians. I'm Arian. And if you can't see the Aryan features in me and my nature, you're missing a whole bunch about me. So Sun in Aries will produce the lamb, okay? Sun in Taurus will produce that archetype because that's where the sun is in that arc, the type. It's typology. So it is the ovaries, Anu, the lamb. And so Saturn is dark light, yes, but Saturn is also Lucifer. And Lucifer means light carrier. Lucy in the sky with diamonds, yeah? It's the rainbow. Lucifer is the electromagnetic spectrum of 7 colors. That's Shiva. Because those colors, from red to violet, and so nothing infrared or nothing ultraviolet, the rainbow, just that electromagnetic spectrum, which is all that we can see of the infinite spectrum of light that there is, that is the creator of the material world. That rainbow spectrum, the ark of Noah, the bark of Noah, the arch of the ecliptic of Noah, Anu, the annual, the one who makes the annual event of the year. You see? So Lucifer, Shiva, the 7 musical notes, the 7 colors of creation, sound and light, sonoluminescence, audio and video. Funny how they both end with God. One is to hear and one is to see. It's a sound and light show. It's sonoluminescence. And that's Saturn and Jupiter, you know, turning and touring, Taurus fields. That's what's going on. Everything is rotating and spiraling. Adam is the pulse, Eve is the wave. That's why Atum has a T in it, which is a pulse, because you can't sustain it. And M, which is a lateral, a liquid, is sustainable. T, D, whether you say Adon, Aten, Atum, Amun, well, Amun's different. It's a lunar energy. The solar energy always must have a T or a D. T or a D. Sometimes B, because B is the number 2. And it's not sustainable. Bhagavan, God, Bhagavad, Buddha. All right? G, God. D, divine. See, you can see God in all those pulse words, but not in the liquids because they're feminine. It's the wave. So energy, sound goes, explodes, and then waves out and produces the universe, phenomena. From mind, noumena, comes matter, phenomena. Saturn and Jupiter, they're doing all the work in their polarities, red and blue. Saturn is always red, Jupiter is always blue.
And see, and I agree with you. If you look at Saturn and Jupiter, simply is like you said, it's just another way of saying yin and yang. And when you say yin and yang, you're saying Saturn. Like if you say brother, sister, where did they both come from? Womb, which is Saturn. So like when I say here you say, so the thing about Saturn and Jupiter is like Adam and Steve. It's like if you say yin and yang, that's man and woman. But when you say Saturn and Jupiter, it's that's what was confusing me because I was looking for the Adam and Eve. See, the Adam and Eve is masculine, feminine, neutron. Because if you got left and right, if you got left and right, that brings about center. You can't have center without left and right. Just like the spinal cord is the single thing in the body that's erect, and it stands in between left and right, just like the serpent on a tree in the garden in between masculine and feminine. Basically what I'm saying is the sun and moon is man and woman, both coming from the womb. So the sun and moon is both revolving around what? That pole. Now, when you say aten or aten, that became the root word of attention. And you stand upright like a pole when you stand at attention, because the root word is tent, dealing with the triangle, because the pole is what supports the triangle in the middle. That's what makes us cast the tent. When the woman makes the man erect it based on her magic, you know, she erects the tent. This is as above, so below, but attention, erection is the same thing. Resurrection, renewal, based on a woman working her antenna. Antenna is also aten when we talk about us opening that pineal gland, which is our antenna to this divine womb. And we do it by closing our eyes, going into our own womb behind our eyelids, which also shaped like an oval, dealing with the ovaries, the ova root again, dealing with hova. Like you said, God is within us, and we access it by closing our eyes, and we go inside of ourselves and bring forth new things, new creations that shape our reality. And new is something that we can't escape. When we say energy can't cease to exist, that means the only thing that really exists is new or darkness. You know, we come in and out of it. And when you look at Nut, she's the background or the most high. If you look at the Egyptian cosmology, Santos, you said which is the most accurate. Nothing in the cosmology is most higher than Nut. She's the ceiling above our head, the roof that protects us. And if she's the ceiling, that's also a covenant or a covering, because your ceiling is a seal that you do on the back of an envelope. And when you say you envelop something, you encompass that whole thing. And when you encompass something, where you're dealing with the North Pole, everything points to where we can't escape or where we must come past. The one that envelops the cosmos, or the great seal, the great ceiling that protects us, this covering or covenant. If you look at an envelope, when you lick it, you're using your DNA to seal it together. That's a representation of the mother's mitochondrial DNA. And when you lick that thing, you lick it in a direct center. X marks the spot where the North Pole would be. You put your DNA, and that X is also the bull's eye or the Baal's eye, this ball, this balance that we're talking about. And I just been seeing how they wanted to get all of this stuff into spookism. Like when we say Lucifer, I found out that that's really Lucifer, and the cipher is a cycle. You know, and it's just crazy how the more I study the devil and all of this Saturn and darkness, the more I find out about this ancient mother goddess who has beautiful concepts, you know, that was hidden behind all of this.
Yeah, brother. The boy is the girl, is the boy is the girl. Madam is Adam. Okay. If you write Madam, I'm Adam, it will say the same thing in reverse. So what you have is you have Adam and his dame. You see, the lad is a lady. Don is Donna. Adonis is Denise. You see, in every word there is three genders. There must be, because a word cannot be of its own gender isolated. There's the Trinity is of three genders. There's a masculine, a feminine, and a neuter gender. You see, so with Adam is quite easily to become a madam. Yeah, Hayden is a maiden. You can do this with literally tens and tens of words, and you see it in Robert and Roberta. Yeah. So when you said 26, you see it as 2 + 6 is 8. Yes, yes. So now we've found a feminine purpose for the number 26. But this is the mystery of the universe. The Godhead is a divine couple, Krishna Radha. You see, they don't hide it in the West that God is balanced in his Godhead. Here we have cast aside the feminine. And so when I'm using Saturn and Jupiter as the two polarities of the universe, as you would the sun and the moon, as you would Mars, Venus, as you would all these other twins, you are seeing that the boy is also the girl. It's as any energy expresses itself from the 0 point of transcendence called counter space. Which is black and white light, yin and yang, which is also called Jannes and Jambres in the Bible, the two serpents that were devoured by the one. Yeah, because unity, or as you said, the pole and polarity, and that was a good point. Unity swallows up duality. And Pythagoras called it duality in unity, whereas Aristotle would have called it unity in duality. So it depends on your point of view and how you're looking at it. But you see, if you're looking for only masculinity in Saturn, you'll be deceived. This is not how it works. Krishna becomes Radha. You see, in Bhagavad Gita, I forget which canto, but it says that the moon represents Krishna. You see, clearly. You see, they're more honest in the West, in the East. In the West, they've hidden it. Everything's hidden so that Jesus now becomes a literal man, you see, and we can't see now through the glass darkly because they've muddied the waters, you see. And so we can't see that Christus Christ is the radiating sun in the heavens, as it always has been. It is the Saviour who rises every morning, you see. But there they will tell you that Radharani is the sun radiating and that Krishna is the moon, you know. Here, we laugh at these conclusions. We laugh at the spiritual insights and wisdom because they think that the Bible is a book of facts, whereas it's a book of truth. And so the truths that are expressed in there are always hide themselves to their eyes. I mean, they will never see them. You see, they don't have eyes to see.
You know,
so they will always be hidden.
You know, Santos, you bring up a good point because what the Bible did was took away our sovereignty in so many ways by giving us the literal historical, like you take away the physical Jesus that everyone believing in, and you get the celestial objects back involved with the Bible, what I think is necessary, because one thing we'll find when we go to Genesis is that they cursed the womb. The Garden of Eden is a story I challenge all Christians and biblical centered people to go back and look and think about what happened, because we left a time of sovereignty, or what they call a golden age. And you know that gold is AU on a periodic table, and you brought up Autumn, which is dealing with autumn, which is dealing with autonomy, which is sovereignty. When we was in autonomous style villages, is what we say awesome, dealing with gold, which is dealing with the mother goddess, or the womb, which is gold, the honey. When we tell our woman, you know, you my honey. So when we talk about the bee goddesses, the bee reverence, that's dealing with the matriarchy and the queen bee. When you talk about Noah is a patriarchal concept of an Asiatic goddess called Nuwa. Her name was Nuwa, and they got a city in New Jersey named after her called Newark, New Jersey. Newark, New Jersey is dealing with the new ark, or Nuwa. If you pull up this goddess, I want to share my screen, but if you Google Nuwa, you'll see that she's half woman and half snake. And that goes back to the devil. She became the devil, but she's really the diva. No older religion or spirituality in Mother Nature can predate the worship of the womb that man and woman come from, which was cursed. And when you say curse, that's dealing with the root word C-U-R, which is the root word of cure. The things that they curse are the cure. And even when you write your signature, you write it in cursive writing, because that's the signature, that's the sealing. That's all dealing with the womb, because the great seal, our family crest was based on a matriarch system, but they hijacked our inheritance with their new cosmology and this new world order thing. And but the whole thing about it is Nuwa is new water, dealing with that baptism and renewing energy. But at the same time, you know, it's deep because you talk about the two serpents that were swallowed. That's dealing with the serpent goddess. If you Google serpent goddess, you'll see a lady with her breasts exposed, and with her, sometimes she have her mouth open like Mama Kali, but in her hands is two serpents, and she devours those. That means left brain, right brain, you know, meet pineal gland or center brain. You know, higher self, lower self must marry to become center self. You know, and I found out in a lot of my life, it was about us getting chaos. They seeded chaos by getting us caught up into the polarities instead of the pole. They got us caught up into sun and moon instead of the thing that they're circuiting around, because that's the center. They got us caught up into the root chakra or the crown chakra instead of the heart chakra. Or they got us caught up into the devil and God, which is man and woman, instead of the womb with their cursing in the hospital that messes up the child before it even has a chance. So our lives is dictated by things that happen in that womb before we even have a chance. So the mother is in a very powerful position.
Don't forget, you guys, everybody starts off female.
That's true.
Before
That's
you
true.
go you know, you guys will all start off female.
That's
you know.
deep. That's deep right there, because everything is dealing with the woman having them curves, and they curse the curves that CUR, but she's the cure. And when you talk about the flower of life, that was a writing style that became cursive writing. Why is it cursive writing? Why does it have to be cursed? Because it has the curves like the woman, you know, and it's dealing, you even have to write in this. When you write in the cursive writing, you're writing like the serpent, and the pen is the pole. So when you look at the medical symbol with the pole, with the serpent wrapped around the pole, when you go and sign a document, the pen is the pole, your signature is the serpent. Everything acts out like this. It's the needle and the string, or the nut and the gab, because gab is the needle, or the penis, the penetrator, and the woman is the Venus, or the nut, the absorber. And everything is this way, implosion, explosion, or like Santos say, Saturn and Jupiter, which is another way of saying negative and positive, which gives us neutrality or nut. And I think that that's what we got to get back to, that centering force. But the root word of center is sin. So again, the things that's good for us became bad. And that's why the world's so chaotic today, because we need to be centered. But when you go to talking about the deities that's related to centering, they say that that's sin, that's the devil, but it's really the diva, you know, the mother with the scales. And the scales is also what the serpent has, because his skin pattern is a form of balance as well, because the hexagon, you know, is what they link to Saturn as well. But this stuff, it gets real deep, you know. I don't want to hog the mic, but if you look at the word woman, take the W off, you get omen. And we know that that's a prophetic event dealing with some form of a covenant as well. But yeah, let me just mute my mic and see what y'all think about this stuff.
Well, I'll let someone else jump in, because I've got a lot.
Santos.
Well, yeah. Well, I can comment because that was pretty good stuff, man. That was incredible. Yeah, curve, curse, woman, omen. You see, it's obviously ludicrous to unbalance the relationship in nature, which is the Godhead, Krishna, Radha. Why would you remove Radha? Well, this is the stupidity of man and the evil of man. See. You know, we curse our own half of our own creation, you know, in our effort to keep control of one modality of expression, which is the masculine expression, because it brings so much profit to businessmen and colonizers and empire, how you can steal, property, land off indigenous people as you go conquering their places and putting up your corporate churches and under Jesus's name, etc. This is how these things go on, because the goddess has been desecrated. In Hindu scriptures, they tell you that of the names of God, there is none more powerful than Radharani, and yet everyone worships Krishna because Krishna is God. But their expression is, of the gods, Rama's name is most powerful, but Vishnu's is 10 times greater, but Krishna's is 10 times greater than that. And then when it comes to Radha, it's 1,000,000 times greater than Krishna's. Why? Well, because Krishna expresses resting light, which is the potential of power. And Radharani is the opposite expression, which is magnetism, which is power. Movement. Mag in Sanskrit is to move. Therefore, we have the two co-eternal conjugate principles of the universe. Force and motion on one hand, which is feminine, Radharani, and inertia and acceleration on the other hand, which is Krishna. Krishna becomes Christ, Christ becomes crest, crest becomes rest. It's the resting light. It's rest and motion. And the motion is Radharani. And why are we pretending that the goddess energy does not exist? Or why are we excluding it from our functions? Why don't we embrace this modality? You see? Because if everything's masculine, we can go about punishing and not rewarding. And you can get taxes are a form of punishment. It's a land tax, you see, and fines. Oh, you were speeding. Here's $150. That's an indulgence. An indulgence comes from the Inquisition, which the elite families set up. Pay your way to heaven. So a car fine is an indulgence, and so we are paying and paying and paying. You see, and so this system is patriarchal. It's masculine. It's punishment system. It's a demerit system. Merit system rather than yeah. And so they're happy to punish you. They're not going to. A policeman's not going to pull you over and say, "Look, you were doing 10 miles under the limit, and it was not very good weather. So congratulations. I'm going to issue you some merit points. Well done. I'm here to protect you. You know that. And goodbye. Have a nice day." It's not going to happen, because that happens in matriarchy. And everywhere where the Jesuits went, they destroyed matriarchy. The Mayans had it. There's evidence the Aztecs had it. The Aborigines certainly did. They won't deny it. They do not deny it. The matriarch of the tribe rules. I've seen it myself. When I was Jehovah's Witness, I went to Northern Territory to witness, quote unquote, to the Aboriginals. And I went to towns that were never preached to before. And I saw the behavior in those villages and how the matriarch of the tribe were kicking the butts of all the men, all of them, and telling them what to do. Okay, and everything functioned well and does function well. It's matriarchy here on this land. That's the law of this land. Okay, sovereignty, matriarchy. When Cook came over here with his Jesuit bandana, the Union Jack, and planted that flag, well, all he was saying was, well, we're just going to do commerce under this banner, and it's maritime law, admiralty law, but we won't, interfere with the sovereignty law. Well, they did, because they're liars. But the point is, they should not have. And so this is the point. Matriarchy is not about women kicking men's butts. It's about everybody realizing that we balance out the two modalities. Men can get shit done. They can build freaking, some scary high houses, and women tend to be a little bit more nervous in that, and they love other modalities of expressing and creating and building. So we can help each other. And when we're balanced, we're beautiful. And this is it. We've got to bring the balance back. Bal is bail. Balance. Okay?
And that's deep because balance is, like I said, that go back to Saturn. And you know something? Saturn is the ending. It symbolizes completion because after 7, what happens is you reach the hourglass, and that's 8. And after that, you reach the feminine, and you end up at the binary code, repeating yourself again with 1 and 0, or Saturn, which is 1 and 0. And I think that it being the 7th wandering star is deep too, because it's the cornerstone or the ending. The band, the 4 bands that's at the base of the pyramid, and 7 times 4 is 28, which is 10. And you spoke about that potential, you know, that each one of us got to resurrect our structures and our realities, whatever it may be. The man being a builder, but him also going inside of the feminine creative energies inside of himself, which is the architecture, because the architecture is the art, or the one that bend the nut. So when you go to create, you bend, because what happens is you close your eyes and you think, and you can invent something new. Or when I write a new song, I like to close my eyes a minute and go in that darkness and think, and you bend in your eyelids because that's the covenant. You know, that's how all things come into existence, out of that womb. And I think that's really deep, because register, when we register, like I said, how we sign with the signature, but the root word is REG, dealing with regal, something royal, and also dealing with something regular or something balanced. And it's showing you that Ma'at is Libra, or liberty, them scales, which is also Saturn, because let freedom ring, like we give to women. But what I was saying is, you know, this is one of my favorite bills I've ever done, because Santos bringing a lot of stuff that's happened, tie a lot of stuff together. When I was thinking about woman and omen, and you think of something else you have in there, which is very consistent, even in the word womb and tomb, which is the same thing according to the ancients. It's the word O-M, which is another how we meditate, you know, even amen, you know, but you know, ramen, like
that was also the first sound for our culture was
Mm-hmm.
That was the very first sound.
And see, and that's deep right there, because it's also in ramen, and we say ramen, you know, a lot of people say noodles, but when you think about it, I know it's a simple food, but it's telling a story, because noodles can be spelled N-U. And if you look at them, it's a wavy pattern dealing with this squiggly serpent energy. So everything has like meaning, and I'm starting to put like even small things together the more I deal with this stuff, because like man and woman, I've become to see is conscious and subconscious. Women represents the invisible thing that predates the physical thing. So like the idea in the mind of the artist is the original copy. What you see on the canvas is the second copy, the original one. He's basically transporting it from his mind to the canvas. But even if you tear up the canvas and set the paint on fire, that copy is still in his mind. So when what he created in the darkness is what's eternal. Therefore, you can burn up all the pictures of all the Mona Lisas on earth, and it'll still come in and out of existence, because the idea have now been created in darkness, which is the original copy. So I think it's a big connection between us and that darkness, the imagination realm and the dream realm.
Yeah, brother, the dream world is the wave, Eve, and the pulse is the dielectric, transcendental, counterspatial, unlimited, unqualified realm from which we come, you see. We drip out of the heavens and we molecularize. That is not even a word, but I mean, that's it.
No, but you're right. Yeah, another way we can say it is we explode and implode. We explode and implode. Just like we inhale and exhale, we do a cosmic breath when we die. It's like a big inhale and exhale where you blow the breath out of these lungs in this body into the fresh new lungs of a new womb. So Nuwa represents new waters. The Christians baptized to renew themselves, because when you go inside of the ground, they lay your casket horizontal, even with the plane. You lay parallel, because parallel is dealing with Saturn or L. So they lay your casket. Your tomb is really your womb. So when they put you in the ground, they put you in the womb of your next mama, because I think when we shut our eyes, we really go back to the darkness of our next womb, or new waters, Nuwa, because I think we come in and out of existence based on this spiritual baptism of the waters in our mamas, our future mamas, over and over again, going into the ground horizontal and rising, resurrecting back up out of the waters of baptism of your mother. Just like the church show you, they take you down horizontal like your casket lay, and then you pick you back up. They say you born again. And I think that's literally what happened when they place us down horizontally to the ground. We rise back up again, because energy can't cease to exist out of the waters of our next mother's womb, you know.
I'm just gonna say it now. I'm seeing a new channel forming called Bro Santos. I think you guys should do this once a week. Bro Santos coming at you. I love how you guys play off each other. I honestly do.
You're so silly, Todd.
Bro Santos. That's dope, you know. Santos Sanchez, or what the hell?
There you go.
Hey, that's crazy. But y'all know there's a rap song called Versace. I think the Migos made it. Versace. Have you ever heard that?
It sounds familiar.
No.
My bad. Go and pull it up.
I don't know.
I'm gonna remix that for Santos, and I'm gonna do the remix. It's gonna be called Bonacci. Because hey, I love Santos, man. He gets me deep, thinking at my deep levels, man. You're right. I'm with that. You guys
talk exactly the same, man. You guys break down every single word that you talk about.
I think you guys play off each other really well, and I think you guys should do a regular. You should do a regular meetup, you know, where it's just you guys playing off each other, because we're just all kind of sitting here hypnotized listening to you guys.
And you know something? If you think about martial arts, the serpent style is when they take their hands and they keep moving it like a wave. But one thing I want to point out is what makes me and Santos, what we have in common, what all of you, I think, gonna have in common too, is that when we doing this, it's etymology. We breaking stuff down to the smallest particle, molecular, to where it resonate with the spirit in you. So what we doing is ripping away the fucking veil from off of the wife and showing you Mother Nature, or the signature of it all. When you say signature, remember the sigil nature. Your own. Everyone got their sigil nature. The symbolic interpretation of nature, or sacred geometry. You know what I mean? So I think that is the foundation of all spiritual sciences.
Yeah, well, we could quite easily coin a phrase or a word which would suit what we're doing. And I've been using this word in my presentations for quite a while, and it is etymology, because that's what etymology is. All is atom, all is atoms. And so what we're doing is etymology. You know, we're obeying the great axiom of the Egyptians: all is atum. In the Hermetica, everywhere it says all is atum, all, or atum is the all. And so etymology, when you look at the Egyptian root of you've got two roots, etimun and etimus. Etimus is truth in words, hence etymology. And etimun is truth. So atum is rooted in truth. As syncretism teaches, the first principle is truth. From all things come truth. You cannot have any other principle or particular or attribute which is not first born of truth. Truth is the creator. It's atum, hence the meaning. And so etymology is exactly what we're doing. You could call it syncretism and etymology, and you could call it by many different expressions, but essentially it's the logos of atoms. And if you understand that all is atum, well, then everything we do is etymology. The study of words. And look at your atom backwards is mot, which is the French word for word, mot. And the Latin word for matter, motum. That's all tum. You know, when you speak with your tongue, T-O-N, your aton. When you swallow, it goes past your tonsils, your atons, and past your dent, teeth, D-E-N, your adens. So either way, when you're making sound, there's always a den, a don, a tom-tom, a tum-tum, timbali, tambourine, timpanis, dambek, drum, dara, buka. All of these percussive instruments, they're all tom. Yeah, they're all got tom in them. Trombone, trumpet, everything has got the tum, tom, tum. And it's atomic. It's an atomic universe, and we've only got one thing to study, essentially. It's etymology.
And, you know, I think that's amazing, because if you deal with Baal and the steeple at the top of the church, which is dealing with liberty, and we, you know, some of the ways we symbolize liberty or balance or renewal energy is by ringing the bell, blowing the horn, and the trumpets, which is the trunk of the tree of life, or the trunk of Ganesh, the elephant. Ganesh, the elephant, his trunk is actually the tree of life. And I think that, you know, that represents the womb. Or when you say Adam and you turn it around, you get Mota, or mother. And they say that all matter is made of atoms. But if you think about it, all matter is made of mothers. You were formed in your mother out of the fabric of her very flesh in the womb. And I think that's very profound, because if matter is mother, then it explains a lot in why the ancestors had a lot of reverence for the womb. Because like when you talk about Venus, which is related to the womb, which is also related to Lucifer, we know that one with the trident is the mother, or the balancing one, Ma'at. But at the same time, when we talk about Venus, the word is venues, and all the women on the earth, the female species, is the portal in and out of this existence through the womb of the woman. And so the Venus, or the venues, the women products, they call them Venus. And that's really the venues. The womb is the venue.
Can I say something about Venus for a second?
Yeah.
When we do our sweat lodges here, our doors face the east. And when you come out of it, you're bowing down to Venus, which is, you know, the morning star. You're bowing down to her when you come out of it. And in if no one knows about sweat lodges, what they are is they are the womb. And when we're in there and you're doing your sweat and stuff like that, but that's bounces off with your, you know, plays up with your Venus, what you were just talking about. So we bow when we come out, and is bowing down to the mother, you know, to the light, the morning star. Because Venus is female.
And, you know, and it's crazy, because everything ties into this matriarchal reality of our, the cosmos, you know, is matriarchal in every sense, in everything we do. And it start to bring forth balance when we start looking at the womb, if you ask me, because it's more than just a physical aspect, but it's a spiritual aspect, even an artistic one. Like when you think of your eyelids as wombs that you create out of, you know, and different things of that nature. Even when we practice yoga and meditation, when you take your index finger and put it together with your thumb and do what they call a 666 sign, they do that for yoga and meditation. And they really making a yoni with their hands, or a womb, you know, with their hands. So, yo, I'm loving this today because we got Santos here and we love syncretism. And today we're talking about something that they told us not to talk about, which is sin. Because when we do syncretism, we talking about something that they curse, which is sin, and crete, which is making things bond like concrete. So when we sync things or practice syncretism, that's what they don't want. That's bringing the puzzle pieces together, needle and thread string theory of making a quilt.
Yeah, brother. And the string is the long.
I have a question. That ritual you do with bowing down in the morning, Marlena, is that a morning ritual?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I thought it was.
And
just,
especially,
you didn't say that specifically.
Yeah, and not only that, is our teepees and stuff, we have them all facing the east. Yeah. And it's all for that reason. And it's all because our doors, we make our doors that certain way. Yeah. And like when we're talking about the sweat lodge, it is a representation of the womb. Okay. If anybody's ever been in one, it's even shaped like one and everything. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we have our sunrise ceremonies here.
Okay.
And that's interesting.
I was wondering that actually for some little extra information about it, because it was interesting, because you have basically the oldest rituals that are still on the earth today, because most of them are lost. But you still have them.
Definitely.
So we can learn a lot from them.
I think what you brought up was real profound too, Marlena, because when you talk about the morning rituals and how I found something that nature has rituals that we do too that we sometimes ignore. But I may be reaching on this one. Like most of the time when we wake up in the morning, we yawn, you know, and we stretch. So that's two things. We stretch upright and erect ourselves, and we also yawn. And if you think about when the sun rises in the morning, that's when you hear all the animals, you know, roosters crowing and different things of that nature. Also, when a baby comes out, you hear what I'm saying is like what new life is represented by a blowing of the trumpet. Or like in some cultures, when a baby is born, they ring bells and blow trumpets. And I think that's significant because for the most part, when everything come into existence, it come out of its mama crying or yelling, you know. And
we don't do that. When a baby's born here, we don't spank them and make them cry.
No,
or
I'm
anything.
not saying.
I know. I just wanted to make it clear for other people that don't understand. We beat the drum, and the drum is Mother Earth's heartbeat. For us.
And that's what's up. You're right too.
So you basically amplified the Earth's heartbeat so that the baby recognizes it.
Right.
And I think there's something because, you know, lions roar. And I think that one of the names of the sun was Ra. And that's something we do, like Ra, you know. And you think about it, things associated with mourning is roaring. Like when they say you mourning, you crying or you shedding tears. And a baby being born is like it's morning, new day or new light. And it comes out crying. And like you wake up in the morning yawning and animals crying and, you know, like yelling. And when you say yell, the word L is there, which represented like the bell is a yell. When you ring the bell, it's a yell. Or the trumpet, which is the trunk of Ganesh or the tree of life. But we're in the Feast of Trumpets right now. That's why Donald Trump is president. You know, that's why I was saying like we are in a crazy time.
I guess. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's basically blowing his
Yeah.
trumpet, but he doesn't know the melody.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. That was just silly. I'm silly. I'm happy because I had all these great people.
Well,
And
no.
you know I
It
just get
gets
silly.
it gets well together, silly and happiness.
Yeah.
Hey,
Happiness is true love, right?
I just want to interject. I have to bounce. This has been, I got to tell you, this has been one of the best panels I've experienced. Not just that I've been on it, but just the fact that I'm listening to it. It's been one of the best I've heard in quite some time. Much respect. I really love you all. And
Ty.
no, seriously, this
Love you
has
too,
been
Ty. I'm so
with
glad I
all
met
the
you.
Ty, it's all
with
of us.
all the
Ty,
It's
it's
all
all of
mutual
us that made this.
with all the nonsense going on in Flat Earth right now. I mean, I just want to say this has been it's been a pleasure to be on this panel, and I think you guys are awesome.
Same here.
And
Yeah,
it was a
huge breath
pleasure
of
to be
fresh
on this.
We love you
I
too.
don't know how. I don't know what I contributed, but I'm just happy to be here, and I think you guys are great.
Yeah, well, everybody
Yeah,
contributes good vibes on this panel, so you always
There you go.
contribute
Good
something.
vibes.
Does that mean you and,
Yeah,
you and
this is
Santos will get
classic.
together now? You want Santos to help you write? Sorry, you would like Santos to write an article.
I would love to have Santos come on board and contribute to the magazine. I think that would be awesome. I think he has a lot of wisdom, and that goes for Bro Sanchez too. I think you both could have.
Hey,
I would
it's
love to
not
have both of you in the magazine.
I'm just kidding.
Hey, man, much love to you, man. Hey,
You like
hey,
the
Marlena
hey,
and I was sitting on an empty hangout. The hangout I was thinking earlier on, oh my goodness, the whole thing has gone wrong. And just look what's happened this evening. This is Flat Earth best. I'm so proud.
It came out wonderful. Yeah, I'm proud of you, Karen.
Flat Earth that is
I
best.
really.
Yeah.
I guess
So
I came
thank
back
you,
too late.
everyone. I'm really happy to
Hey,
to have met you all, and I gotta go.
Nice meeting you,
hey, have a
Ty.
good one, my brother.
care,
Hey,
Ty.
much love to you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ty.
All right.